Welcome back, writers. I'm so happy to have you here. Today, in Mr. Ruckdasher's class, we are going to get to take a look at our writing lives. And since this is our first true session here for 7th grade, writing realistic fiction, it's important that we know, in order to write a small moment story, it's really important to think about our own lives, because that's where the best story ideas come from. Yeah, I know. You probably thought, oh, yes, I'm done with personal narratives. I don't have to think about myself anymore. And that's kind of true. However, you really need to think about the idea that you are an interesting, wonderful, talented student. And things happen in your life that we can then change and modify and make into a super exciting story. Because the most interesting person that you know how to write about well is yourself. Let's go. Okay, fiction writers, I'm going to let you in on a secret here. When I was in middle school, and actually probably even elementary school, I would try to write. And let's be honest, my writing was not very good. And I think in part it was because the ideas I came up with were hard to relate to. It wasn't something that was based upon my own life, because I was doing what I said earlier, and I was just kind of staring up at the sky, hoping that an idea would pop into my brain. And the ideas that popped into my brain were just not very good. The problem is, it's hard for us as new writers or young writers to sometimes recognize that those aren't very good ideas that could be believed by someone else. And so it's super important we know that oftentimes writers base their fiction stories off of their own experiences in life. For example, J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, is right there. She based a lot of her characters off of people that she knew. Now, obviously, she didn't base the world of Harry Potter, that's a magical world, off of her real life experiences, because that's not possible. But there are a lot of other authors who've done the same thing. If you've heard of the book The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, some of those experiences that the author faced are what caused them to write that book. Now, with that said, they didn't have something happen in real life and then all of a sudden just record it word for word. They had something that happened to them, they took note of it, and it sparked an idea. So possibly, you might be thinking of ideas yourself and going, that's boring. I don't see how that could work. But actually, if we just tweak it, if we just change it a little, it's going to feel real, while being much more exciting than what happened in real life. Okay, I'm excited because we are going to take a look at me trying to take a little moment from my life and turn it into a bigger story. By bigger story, it's still a small moment, but it's not how it originally happened to me. Let's take a look. Okay, so first I thought of a strategy, and that was one time when I had a strong emotion. And this emotion for me was embarrassed. And I was embarrassed because at lunchtime, and I've had this happen before, to where at lunchtime I'm drinking something, and some reason or another I end up laughing, and I can't control it. Someone says something funny, who knows. The point is, as I'm drinking something, I laugh and I spray my pop all over the recess teacher who had just come in and kind of broken our circle of guys up. And I was embarrassed about it. Embarrassed really because I couldn't control myself. It was kind of ridiculous. Okay, so once again, I'm doing this in Google Jamboard. You don't have to be. And in Google Jamboard, it's really cool because I can make these sticky notes. And so this sticky note is an idea of what I could turn my original story into. And that's really where we're trying to get to, is as you're writing that original story idea that's actually true for you, we want to think of how we could change this and make it something much more exciting and much more fun to read. So, notice the steps. First step is deciding what strategy you're going to use. Strategy for coming up with a story idea from your life. Second one is write a story that pops into your head based upon that strategy. Number 3 is, as you're writing it, stop as soon as you realize a story idea that you could get from it. And it may be that you need to write the exciting part of that story. So start as close to the exciting part as possible. As soon as you've written that exciting part, pause to think, what if this happened to a made-up character? What sort of person might do that? And notice now, when I wrote my sticky notes, I really tried to think of a few things. I tried to think of, okay, what does this character want? What gets in that character's way? I also tried to describe my character. I imagined what this type of character this person was and what personality they had. One of them is a new student who's clumsy, and then another one is a class clown. In that first sentence for the class clown, I said that he doesn't want to be a class clown. That's his goal. And the next sentence I reiterated and said he wants people to think he's smart and talented. In the yellow sticky note, I said that the clumsy new student, his goal is to make friends. Now, the rest of each of those sticky notes is the challenge, the thing that gets in the way. And by doing that, I've set up my whole story. Like, I've got 2 juicy, awesome ideas waiting to be written right there. And I already have a scene, because the scene is the one that I already wrote before, the one about Big Red and the soda. So now it's your turn. You are going to need to think of some of your favorite strategies from the past. Right now is a good time to pause the video and create a chart called Strategies for Generating Personal Narrative Stories. Wait, what? Personal narratives? Yes, we're using those strategies, and they're going to help us to create our realistic fiction stories. So, pause the video and write down any of those ideas you can remember from the past. Okay, so I know that some of my favorites were thinking about a person from the past who's important to me. That's one of my favorites because those are the people that hopefully I spent the most time with. And those memorable moments are things I share. And even better, if I was really struggling, I could probably ask that person about some things that happened between the two of us. Another favorite of mine is think of firsts or lasts. In fact, I like to make a whole chart that has first times I did something, last times I did something. Because a lot of the times, like right now in my head, I can remember the first time I played football. With that said, it's the first-ish. It might not be the first, but it's the first season I played. I can remember a lot of things from that season. One of my last favorite ones is moments that really mattered to you. Because I learned something from them or realized something. Those are important because we know we need to have a lesson learned. If you don't know that, know it now. Our story should have something that we get out of it. Something that causes your character to change in some way. And if the story idea comes gift wrapped, already prepared with something like that, the amount of extra work I'm going to do to change it doesn't have to be as much. Remember, these ideas we're thinking of, we can change however we need to. You know, one more story idea that's actually one of my favorites because I get to draw, this is for you drawers out there, is drawing a place that I spent a lot of time and making a little map of stories I can remember that happened in places there. If you want to dedicate one of your journal pages to that, I think that's a really great idea. Now remember, the thing to get out of today is writers take true stories or moments that have happened to them and turn them into their fiction stories. But hey, I don't want to summarize everything totally because that's Mr. Ruckdash's job over there. Writers, I'm super excited that we are ready to write now. I know it seems like you've been held back and held back and held back. But now's the time. Now's the time to put pen to paper, fingers to keyboard. Now's the time to examine your own writing lives and find the small moments in them. Remember, it's easy to think about the things that happen to you and say, that's not important, that's boring, whatever. But writers of fiction, stories that aren't true, they don't just stare up into the clouds. They don't just say, idea, come into my brain, show me what I need to do. That's not how it works. They examine their life, like you're going to do now, with our story strategies we have, and they write down something that's happened to them. And then from there, they maybe take a sticky note and put next to it into the idea that will become. So, today, during these 30 minutes or more of time that you have, concentrate on coming up with as many ideas as you can while leaving yourself enough time to write about the best idea you've got right now. Okay, writers. We'll see you next time. In the meantime, happy writing.